All right, so I'm here again with you. Today we'll be looking at International Organization Part 2. We want to look at UN and the EU. UN meaning United Nations and the EU, European Union. Under this topic, we'll be considering it fully. We want to know the full meaning of UN and EU. We also want to know their aims and objectives. So quickly, let's start with the UN. UN, I said before, means United Nations, and it is coined by the then United States President Franklin D. Roosevelt. This name was first declared on the 1st of January 1942 during the Second World War. And during that period, the representatives of the 26 nations pledged their government to continue fighting together against Axis powers. You see, the UN has five main purposes: to keep peace throughout the world, to develop friendly relations among nations, to help nations work together to improve the lives of poor people. They also, intend to conquer hunger, disease, and illiteracy. They also help to harmonize the actions of the national to achieve these goals. So they are working together with the nations to help the nations uh, unite, to help the nations do things in common, and to help the nations live in peace. So these are the main purposes of the United Nations. And their work is mostly pronounced during time of crisis, even during war. So they come as mm, as mediators to make peace reign, they settle quarrels among countries. That the United Nations officially came into existence on 24th October 1945, and during that period was when the charter has been ratified by China, France, and the United Kingdom, United States, and by a majority of other signatories. So the United Nations Day is celebrated on the 24th of October. So whenever you ask when is the United Nations Day celebrated, it is 24th of October. Let's consider the European Union. The European Union is a political and economic union. It is made up of 27 member states. Its citizens share a currency, a single market, and common history and culture. So this body is made up of 27 member states, and they use one currency. There is a single market for them and common history and culture. So let's look at the European world. When it comes to trade, the European Union is the largest trade bloc in the world. It is the world biggest exporter of manufactured goods and services. So they also make sure they oversee the exportation of goods and services, and ensure that the the members operate on the principles of the body. And also, when it comes to humanitarian aid, the European Union is committed to helping victims of man-made and natural disasters worldwide. So whenever there is problem as regards disasters, they also come to the aid of people. If there is need for them to produce and provide measures to cushion the effect of such disaster, whether it is man-made or a natural one, they are always on ground to help. Well, let's talk about diplomacy too and security. So the EU plays an important role in diplomacy, and they also work to foster stability, security, and prosperity. They ensure democracy, they ensure fundamental freedom and the rule of the law at international level. So they make sure that the laws or the rights of people are not, are not tampered with. What are the goals and values of the European Union? What do they stand for, and what do they also stand to achieve? The One of the goals, or let's start stating them one after the other. The goals of the European Union are: one, to promote peace, its value, and the well-being of its citizens. They also offer freedom, security, and justice without internal borders. So they make sure that the citizens enjoy good benefits when it comes to security, freedom, and justice, and they make sure that peace also reigns. Um, Other goals are the combat social exclusion and discrimination, so that there is nothing like racism or uh, uh, biased judgment. They also promote scientific and technological process. They enhance economic, social, and territorial cohesion and solidarity among EU countries. So the countries belonging to this body or operating under this body have to work together as one. They need to unite. They also respect um, the rich cultural and linguistic diversity of you know, they establish an economic and monetary union whose currency is the euro. So, this body ensure that there is respect for every culture that every the cultures of every country that falls or that belongs to it. Now, the values of the European Union are, common to the European Union countries. So, the values of the European Union is, cumulative of the countries that make up the body. They include tolerance, justice, solidarity, non-discrimination also prevail. These values are an integral part of our European way of life. Continue with the also when it comes to human dignity, they make sure that it is not violated, it must be respected, protected, and constitutes the real basis of fundamental right. So they protect the human dignity and make sure that everyone's right is protected too. Let's move on to freedom. They also, when you talk about freedom, they give their citizens freedom of movement. They make sure that the citizens have the right to move and reside freely within the union. Individual freedoms such as respect for private life, freedom of thoughts, religion, assembly, expression, and even information are protected by the European Union Charter of Fundamental Rights. So these are the benefits they give to their citizens. We talk about democracy too. The functioning of the European Union is founded on representative democracy. Being a European citizen also means enjoying political rights. You have the right to vote and even the right to be voted for. So every adult of European Union citizen has the right to stand as a candidate and to vote in elections to the European Parliament. So if you are eligible to be voted for, you are good to go. And you can also vote for others too. When you talk about equality, they make sure that everyone is treated fairly and equally. So there is no discrimination. No one is, seen as inferior to the other person. They make sure that everyone enjoys the same, opportunity, the same privilege. So they make this even to all the countries. The European Union, when you talk about rule of law, is based on rule of law. Everything the European Union does is founded on treaties voluntarily and democratically agreed by its European Union countries. So all the countries come together and agree on a particular thing when it comes to rule of law. And they make sure that this rule of law is followed to the letter so that no one feels cheated upon. Human rights are protected by the European Union Charter for Fundamental Rights. I talked about this before. I said the right to be free from discrimination on the basis of sex, racial or ethnic origin, so religion or belief, disability, age or sexual orientation, the right to the protection of your personal data, and or the right to get access to justice. So as long as the European Union is involved, there is protection of human rights. I hope you enjoyed the class. Till we meet again next time. Thank you very much for listening.